Paintbrushes makers, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a fun koi fish painting tutorial. My paint colors today that I'm working with are black, white, yellow, green, blue, and red. I have some mixing plates to mix up all my colors, a can with some water to clean my brushes, some paper towels, and 2 different types of brushes today. The first brush that I have is a flat brush. It's round at the edge. It's called a filbert brush. And the second brush is a long, pointy, thin brush for all the fine details for when we draw our koi fish and such. Now the first step is going to be mixing up all of our background colors. We have a whole bunch to mix up first before we lay anything down. We're going to be grabbing our flat brush and our mixing plate, and we're going to be mixing up a dark green first, starting with a nice big scoop of our green paint. Then we're going to grab a little bit of our yellow and a little bit of black and mix those 3 colors together till we get this sort of dark forest green. Next, we're going to be mixing up our medium shade green, which is sort of like a grassy lime green color, starting with 1 scoop of white, 1 big scoop of yellow, and just a little bit of green. Feel free to even add a touch of black if you want to mute the color a little bit, or even a bit of red will get that same effect. Our next color is going to be a very pale, very yellowy shade of green. Get a clean brush. We're going to be grabbing a nice big scoop of white. Then we're going to grab a little bit of yellow and barely any green. Feel free to even put a little bit of red in there, again to mute the tone just a hair. Make it a little bit more warm in color. We're going to be mixing up 1 more color before we start. So with our clean brush, we're going to grab a scoop of white. Then we're going to grab a little tiny bit of yellow and a little tiny bit of red. We're going to mix, 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 and we want to have this sort of peachy color. This is going to be the color that we start off with on our canvas. We're going to add this in just a handful of places, starting in the top left-hand corner of our canvas. And we're going to be doing a dabbing-like motion, just tiny little tick marks all over the place in a random fashion, starting in the top left-hand corner, moving down in towards the center of our canvas, all the way across, and then just in a handful of random places as well. Next, I'm going to be getting into my lightest green color. It's pretty close in color to the peach that we created. And with this color, we're going to be going around the outside edge of everywhere we put that peach, using the same brush stroke technique where we just dab it on. Then we're going to be getting into our medium shade green and doing the same exact thing where we add it to the outside edge of the color we just put on. So on the outside edge of our light green. You can even feel free to have some dots of it overlap the peach or the green if you want it to be in other places where other color is at the moment. Then we're going to be taking our darkest green that we created and filling in all of the white gaps, plus adding a few dots here and there in some random places. Then we're going to add a little bit more depth to this by grabbing just a small touch of black paint and adding it into those darker green areas just to make them seem like they are darker and deeper in the water. Now before we do anything else, we're going to let our paintings dry for about 10 to 15 minutes before we move on. Next step, we're going to be drawing out our koi fish. We're going to be drawing this all out with white paint first. So we're going to be taking our small pointy brush, twirling it in our white paint, and we're going to draw the basic shapes for our koi fish. The first thing is figuring out where the head is going to be. I'm going to do 3 koi fish. So my first one's along the top of my canvas. I'm going to start over here on the right side and draw a circle. It's a little bit smaller than like a cutie's orange, almost like a dollar coin size. Circle doesn't need to be perfect. Then we're going to figure out where the end of its tail is going to be. So over here, top left of our canvas, somewhere around there. And then I'm going to connect it to the head with a nice little smiley face curve. From there, we're going to connect it to the sides of the circle, keeping the end of the tail really thin and pointy. And then we're going to widen up the body where it connects to the head. Next, we're going to add the tail. So we're going to draw 2 fins. Starting at the tip of the fin, we're going to use very light pressure, making it really thin. And then we're going to wiggle it onto the back of the tail and press harder when we connect it to the body of the fish. So we're going to do that 2 times. Just going to do the opposite way for the second tail or second fin. Next, we're going to focus on the side fins. These are sort of like a football shape or an eyeball shape, maybe even a teardrop shape, whatever helps you get that shape correctly. Lastly, at the end of the fish's head, we're going to be drawing a little sort of rectangle square shape. This is just like the mouth area of the fish. And then we're just going to take that white paint and fill everything in. Now I'm going to repeat these steps to create another koi fish below that's about the same size, and a smaller koi fish that's in the bottom right hand corner. This one's going to be really small, so use very light pressure on your brush when you draw out the basic shape for that fish. Now to make our fish look more 3D, we're going to be adding sort of a blue hue to the outside edge of the body and in the fins a touch. So with a little bit of white and a very small touch of blue, making this sort of baby blue shade, we're just going to stipple in, sort of just like poke the color in around the outside edge of the fish's body and a little bit within the tail and the fins. If you feel like you put too much blue on, you can always go back over top with a little bit of white to dilute it. Next, with a clean pointy brush and white paint, we're going to be drawing the little whiskers that are on the side of our koi fish's little mouth areas. We're just going to simply flick backwards towards the body on either side of the mouth area. Now we're going to be mixing up a new color for the texture in the koi fish's body with a scoop of white, scoop of yellow, and a little bit of red. Mix. We're going to be creating sort of a red-orange color. Now in a random fashion, we're going to be poking in this color. There really is no rhyme or rhythm to it. We're just going to be connecting a whole bunch of random dots of red throughout the body. Just make sure that you don't bring those dots too far up in the face, and we are not going to be putting any on the fins. Now again, to keep that same 3D effect to our fish, we're going to be adding a little bit of black to some red, or even just using straight red if it's darker than the color that you used. And we're going to add a little bit of that to the edges of our red splotches. Whatever is touching the edge of your fish, that's where you'll throw this color in. Now we're going to get a clean brush and some black paint, the same pointy brush, and we're going to be adding some eyes to the ends of the faces to our koi fish. These are little ovals that are sort of angled in towards the mouth area. They're not perfectly straight. And we're going to add eyes to each of our koi fish. Then with the black paint, we're also going to be outlining parts of the fish. Not every single part, just areas where you feel like it would make it pop out more against our background. I'm also going to be adding a little small line into the middle of each of those side fins, as well as a couple of lines within the whiskers, just to make them pop and have a little bit of texture themselves. Now that is the last and final step to creating your beautiful koi fish painting. Once you're done, don't forget to sign your painting. We'd love to see what you're painting at home, so post them on social media, tag us at muse_paintbar so we can check them out. If you want to see more from our channel, make sure you like and subscribe, and with that, don't forget to always paint outside the lines.